Imagine this. You're sitting in a room. You've had the worst week of your life. You're exhausted. You're fragile. And across from you sits someone who says all the right things. They validate your emotions. They ask thoughtful follow-up questions. They remember everything you've told them. They never judge. They never get tired. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you feel nothing. Something in your chest stays closed. Something in your gut says, "This doesn't count. That's not a bad therapist. That's an AI therapist." And your brain rejected it before you even understood why. Today, we're going to break down the exact psychological reasons your brain resists AI therapy, even when the words are technically perfect. Because this isn't about technology. It's about what healing actually requires. Here's what makes this so fascinating. On paper, AI therapists should work. They have access to every therapeutic framework ever published. They can deliver CBT, DBT, ACT, psychodynamic techniques, all of it, flawlessly, on demand. They don't have bad days. They don't zone out. They don't accidentally check the clock when you're mid-sentence. And yet, study after study shows the same pattern. People interact with AI therapy tools, they acknowledge the responses are helpful, and they still don't feel better the way they do with a human therapist. The information lands. The healing doesn't. Why? What's missing? What does a human therapist have that a perfect machine doesn't? Reason number 5 is the one that cracked this open for me. It's the thing AI fundamentally cannot replicate, and it's the reason therapy works at all. Let's start with the most fundamental one, and it goes back further than psychology. It goes back to the very structure of what it means to be human. When you tell a human therapist something painful, something you've never said out loud before, something happens in that room that goes beyond the words. The therapist's face changes. Their breathing shifts. Maybe their eyes soften. Maybe there's a silence that feels heavy in a way that only another person can create. That's called witnessing. And it's not a technique. It's a biological event. When another human being truly registers your pain, your nervous system responds. Mirror neurons fire. Cortisol drops. Oxytocin rises. Your body, not your mind, your body, receives the signal. You are not alone. An AI can say the words, "I hear you." It can type. That sounds incredibly difficult. But your nervous system knows the difference. There's no body on the other side. No heartbeat. No breath. No biology responding to your biology. And without that biological resonance, the words stay in your head. They never reach the part of you that's actually hurting. Healing isn't an information transfer. It's a co-regulation event. And co-regulation requires 2 nervous systems, not one nervous system and a server. This one is uncomfortable, but it's important. When a human therapist sits with you through your darkest moment, it costs them something. Not money, energy, emotional bandwidth. They carry a piece of what you shared with them. They might think about you on the drive home. They might feel the weight of your story in their chest. They chose to sit in that room knowing it would take something from them. And they did it anyway. That cost is not a flaw in the system. It is the system. Because your brain evaluates empathy not just by what someone says, but by what it costs them to say it. There's a reason a compliment from someone who gives them freely means less than a compliment from someone who rarely speaks. There's a reason a friend who drops everything to be with you during a crisis matters more than a friend who was already free. The sacrifice signals the sincerity. AI has no sacrifice. It has no cost. It will listen to you for 14 hours straight and feel nothing afterward. And your brain registers that, not consciously, but deep in the wiring. If it doesn't cost anything, your brain whispers, then maybe it doesn't mean anything either. Here's one that sounds completely backwards. One of the biggest selling points of AI therapy is, it doesn't judge you. You can say anything. No shame, no consequences. Total safety. And that should be a good thing, right? Except psychologically, it's not. Not entirely. Researcher Brené Brown has spent decades studying vulnerability, and her central finding is this: vulnerability is only meaningful when there's risk. Real vulnerability means telling someone something with the genuine possibility that they could think less of you, that they could react badly, that they could judge. When you open up to a human therapist, you're taking a real risk. They are a real person with real opinions and real reactions. And the fact that they hear your worst moments and still show up the next week with warmth? That's not just reassuring. It's transformative. It rewires your belief about whether you're worthy of acceptance. AI removes that risk completely. And in doing so, it removes the mechanism through which vulnerability actually heals. Telling your secret to an algorithm is like practicing a confession in an empty room. The words are the same, but the weight is gone, because there was never anyone there who could have turned away. This one is more subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. AI therapists are trained on therapeutic techniques, and they're extremely good at deploying them. They validate, they reflect, they reframe, they ask open-ended questions. Every response follows a structure designed to be maximally supportive, and that's exactly the problem. Because your brain is a pattern recognition machine, and after a few exchanges, it starts to notice. Every response sounds the same. The validation comes too fast. The follow-up question is too perfectly timed. The empathy is too consistent. In human therapy, there are imperfections. A therapist might pause too long. They might ask a question that catches you off guard. They might even say something slightly wrong and then course correct. Those imperfections aren't bugs. They're proof of genuine processing. Proof that someone is actually thinking about what you said, not executing a script. When an AI response is too polished, your brain doesn't register it as empathy. It registers it as a template. And the moment your brain categorizes the interaction as a template, trust collapses. Because templates don't care about you. They care about fitting your input into an output formula. The uncanny valley isn't just visual, it's emotional. And AI therapy is sitting right in the middle of it. And now, the one I told you about, the one that unlocks the entire puzzle. The deepest reason your brain rejects AI therapy has nothing to do with technology, technique, or intelligence. It has to do with one irreplaceable fact: a human therapist has suffered. They know what loss feels like. Not because they read about it, because they've lived it. They've been heartbroken, they've been afraid. They've sat in their own therapist's chair and struggled to find words for what they felt. And when they sit across from you and say, "I understand," there's a lifetime of experience beneath those words. Psychologist Carl Rogers, the founder of person-centered therapy, identified 3 conditions necessary for therapeutic change: empathy, unconditional positive regard, and congruence. That third one, congruence, means genuineness. Being a real person with real experience present in the room. Not performing a role. Being one. AI can simulate empathy. It can approximate unconditional positive regard. But it cannot have congruence, because congruence requires having lived, having struggled, having a self that was shaped by joy and pain and uncertainty, and bringing that self into the room. When a human therapist says, "You're going to get through this," your brain hears, "This person has gotten through things too." That's not information. That's communion. And communion is what heals. Not data, not techniques, not perfectly generated sentences. The raw, imperfect, irreplaceable experience of being understood by someone who knows what it's like to be human. That's what AI doesn't have. And it's the only thing that matters. So let me be clear about what this video is and isn't saying. AI therapy tools can be useful for journaling prompts, for psychoeducation, for people who can't access human therapists due to cost or location. But if you've ever tried an AI therapist and felt like something was missing, now you know what it was. It wasn't the words. The words were fine. What was missing was the witness, the cost, the risk, the imperfection, and the shared humanity that makes healing possible. Your brain wasn't rejecting technology. It was demanding something technology can't provide. Another human being who chose to care. If this video resonated, tell me in the comments. Have you tried AI therapy? What did it feel like? And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of AI, check out our video on why people hate artificial intelligence. It connects directly to what we covered today. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.